Welcome to the Vehicle and Watercraft Gallery in the Saskatchewan Western Development Museum's Moose Jaw branch. In 1917, three Graham brothers in Indiana looked around for a good, dependable vehicle for all sorts of pickups and deliveries. Disappointed with what they found, they began to build their own trucks. The Grahams were so successful that they caught the eye of Dodge Brothers. By 1926, Dodge Brothers had bought out the Grahams. In 1929, all Graham Brothers trucks became Dodge trucks. This here is a 1926 Graham Brothers truck. The Canadian Foremost Industries logo, a Calgary, Alberta company started in 1965, appears on the truck door. Here is a 1939 International Harvester Company truck. The Derby was really a Davis, manufactured in Richmond, Indiana, by the George W. Davis Motor Car Company. Derby president Louis Arsenault first brought the cars to Winnipeg in 1923, changing the nameplates and adding tire covers with the Derby name. The venture did not go well, so Arsenault decided to try his luck in Saskatoon. Here is a 1927 Derby Model 93 sedan. This is a 1917 Jeffrey. Direct air cooling, no water to boil or freeze. Makes it available for use on the hottest or coldest day of the year. The Franklin Automobile Company of Syracuse, New York, made this claim in a 1919 advertisement. The Franklin had aluminum body and engine components and a wooden frame. The company built automobiles from 1901 to 1934. It was the only successful air-cooled luxury car built in the United States. Here is a 1921 Franklin. This is a 1929 streetcar. Regina was first, Moose Jaw 3 weeks later. Saskatoon was more than a year behind. On January 1st, 1913, nearly half of Saskatoon's 12,000 people celebrated the new year with a ride on the city's new street railway. The streetcars ran on rails embedded in the streets. Electricity provided the power through overhead lines. The 1930s were not good times for the street railway business. Saskatchewan was mired in the Great Depression. Thousands were out of work and cash was scarce. SMR operating losses began to pile up. But as the Depression ended and the Second World War began, business picked up. During the war years and immediately after, more people rode the street railway, and the SMR made money again. But changing times meant the end of the line for the SMR. In the late 1940s, Saskatoon began to replace its old streetcars with cheaper, rubber-tired buses and trolleys that did not need rails. The last of the streetcars made its final run on November 10th, 1951. A year later, Old 61 found a new home at the Western Development Museum. The clang of the streetcar bell on Saskatoon streets was silenced for good on November 10th, 1951. Saskatoon Municipal Railway's last streetcar had made its nostalgic final run. 3 years earlier, Saskatoon bought its first trolley coaches. Like streetcars, trolleys had electric motors. Power was transmitted from a string of overhead lines through trolley poles to the motor. But unlike streetcars, trolleys did not run on rails. Trolley coaches could drive up to the curb so passengers did not have to board in the middle of the street. Here we have a 1951 trolley coach. City of Moose Jaw horse-drawn ambulance. This ambulance was purchased in 1907 at a cost of $1,175 and was operated by the city's health department. It was Moose Jaw's only ambulance service until 1917, when a local undertaker branched out with a motorized ambulance. This Barnett hearse from 1950 is a Chevrolet chassis with a body by Barnett and Company of Memphis, Tennessee. Here is a 1918 hearse used in the Indian Head District. Coal Oil Delivery Wagon. In 1921, Imperial Oil bought Calgary Petroleum Products and reorganized it as the Royal Light Oil Company. Coal oil and gasoline were delivered to homes and farms. This horse-drawn tanker delivered Royal Light coal oil around Regina for Imperial Oil. In 1934, this Ford truck, complete with grain box, was shipped to the Ford dealer in Piapot. It was purchased by Tom Drever to haul grain. Drever then sold the truck to Ray Spillaway, who used it on his farm until 1963, when it was sold at the Spillaway Farm Auction. The buyer, John Kolutz, used it until 1975. Changed hands again and again until it was purchased in the Maple Creek area in 1981 by Trimac representative. The unit was never used by Trimac as a tanker. The vintage tank, which replaced the green box during restoration, came from the Gletchen, Alberta area. Lynn tractor truck. It was the winter of 1928-29. The silence of the northern bush was broken by the rumble of 100 horsepower engines as a fleet of 13 heavily loaded Lynn tractor trucks made its way from the end of the rail at Flin Flon, Manitoba, to the Island Falls Hydroelectric Station construction site across the border in Saskatchewan. In just 2 months, the Lynns hauled some 21,000 tons of supplies the 125-kilometer distance. The ruggedly constructed tractor truck was built for power, not speed. The Lynn inched along at 8 to 10 kilometers per hour, pulling 6 loaded sleds.
At the Western Development Museum location in Moose Jaw, with the theme of transportation. Snowgo. This 6-cylinder Waukesha engine airport snowblower was manufactured in the United States and purchased by the Canadian Air Force in 1941. It was capable of clearing up to 1,000 tons of snow per hour. Here is a 1955 four-wheel drive Wausau snowplow. Bashinki caboose. Even after motor vehicles were a common sight in Saskatchewan, horse-drawn vehicles were still a necessity in the winter. Saskatchewan's solution to this problem was the enclosed cutter known as a caboose. In 1934, Mike Baczynski, a blacksmith in Colonsay, Saskatchewan area, was granted Canadian patent number 346438. Patent was for an enclosed cutter with runners and load-sustaining mounting designed for quietness and safety. This 1956 Autoneige was manufactured in Valcourt, Quebec by Bombardier Snowmobile Limited. It was used by the Saskatchewan Department of Natural Resources. A snowplane glides over the snow on its skis. In Saskatchewan, in the days before proper snow removal, roads often became blocked by snow, causing people to use this unique form of transportation. Here we have a 1949 snowplow built by Fudge Snow Sedans of Moosomin, Saskatchewan. In 1965, Louis Lennox of Ormiston, Saskatchewan decided to build his own snowmobile using parts from discontinued snow machines, a 10 horsepower Kohler engine, bicycle handlebars, an old bed frame, and other materials he had on hand. He used it to get to work when roads were blocked or just for fun. He retired this snowmobile in 1984 after purchasing a modern factory-built one. Fewer than 300 of this Roloflex Wild Ones snowmobiles were assembled at the Roloflex plant in Regina, Saskatchewan, before the company dissolved in February 1974. To learn more about these winter equipment for fun and work, visit the Western Development Museum in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. In the Western Development Museum in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, we have a 1953 Dodge Commander towing the Cheshire View trailer, built by Norman Thane and his brother during 1948 in the backyard of their home in Manchester, England. In 1953, when Norman moved his family to Canada, he brought the Cheshire View trailer with him. All handmade in the backyard of their home in Manchester, England. If you come to the museum, you can learn their full story of how the Cheshire View came to be here. It's on this plaque. We are in the boat display area of the Western Development Museum in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. On a hot August day, Ole Evinrude was picnicking on an island with his fiancée, Bess Carey, when he decided to row a 5-mile round trip to get her some ice cream. By the time he got back, it had melted. This got him wondering whether he could put a portable motor on a rowboat. Inventors were experimenting with outboard motors as early as 1896. But Ole and Bess had the first commercial success. By 1910, in partnership with C.J. Meyer, the Evinrudes were selling outboard motors through the Evinrude Detachable Rowboat Motor Company. Its success was a joint effort. Ole's inventive abilities and Bess's marketing and management skills. The Evinrudes sold to Meyer in 1914. In 1955, Len Small ordered the Cedar Strip boat from the Eden's catalog. It was made by a company in Peterborough, Ontario. The Gull was manufactured by Russell Brothers Limited of Fort Francis, Ontario, a boat builder for the logging industry. The boat is all steel from cabin to keel and powered with the Russell heavy-duty marine engine. It was a true workhorse. The Gull. In the boat display area at the Western Development Museum in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.